welcome to another exciting episode of the Saturday Shade. I'm your host, Nene Kabutey. And today's topic is going to be a very good one because I think most of the times we end up not upholding what we tell people to do. And the topic is practice what you preach. Do we always do that? I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But on today's topic, I have two awesome ladies who are going to help me digest this conversation. We have Taylor right here, and we have the one and only, the Dr. Dawn as well. Hello, ladies, and welcome to Saturday Shade.
Hey, happy Saturday.
Thank you. And for viewers and listeners at home, don't forget to join the conversation on Twitter, Kabutey, on Instagram, Saturday Shade, and do not forget to hashtag Saturday Shade as well. So, ladies, tell me what you think about this topic, because a lot of people have different perspectives about it. You know, we always tell people what to do, but we don't always do the same thing. You know, I'm guilty of that, so I'm just going to be...
I think we always are. I mean, that's so many people. It's easier, in reality, it's easier to tell people the good they should be doing and not do it yourself. And it's many reasons why. But yeah, we can talk definitely because if you're not practicing what you preach, you have to understand that you have to do what you're advising others to do. And that's even in everyday life, business, whatever. So it's on a higher level than just talking about it. So we can, definitely talk about that.
And I think too, especially with social media now, like with on Instagram and everything too, it's so easy for people to click, share and like, oh yeah, you should be doing this. But it's like, are you actually doing it in your day-to-day life? Because it's one thing to post it on social media. It's another thing to actually do it in your life.
Yeah.
Speaking about social media, and I mean, this is just something that happens. So, I mean, everyone has actually seen it. Most people. Yeah. This guy caught, is it Derek Jackson or something? What I think that's his name. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, so he pretty much like he's a relationship expert or something like that. I didn't really follow too much because I always tell people, I'm like, when someone goes through stuff like this and you celebrate too much, you never know what's coming your way.
Yeah.
So I never really but long story short, I know they say he advises people like relationships and stuff like that. But he felt shocked because he was actually, he stepped out of his marriage pretty much.
Yeah. But guess what? I don't blame him for that. I blame you for that. Why are you putting this man on a pedestal? He's a human. He's a human. Do you know how many people are speaking on relationships and they're not living it? It's just he got caught. So you followed this person who's a human. We put people, and like Taylor said, social media, click, like, we put people on this pedestal. But he fell. He's a human like everybody else.
Yeah.
He fell short. So, but he's right back to selling books and where he's at. People were mad at him for a minute, and now they back to, oh yeah, I can't wait to get your new book. Because we're so fickle. Social media.
It's the same as what's called like the whole John Gray situation. Like people just they bash him so much and like right back to it. I'm like, okay, hold on. Is it that, we've actually been programmed to the way that we don't really see a lot of faults with people? It's like once it happens, we're like, oh, you did this, you did that. But once it's like settles down, we are back into it again.
Yeah, we forget. We get amnesia. But
selective ones.
Media has allowed us we put people on a pedestal. And one of the reasons why people don't practice what they preach is because we allow it. You have a large following. I cannot tell you how many people, Nene and Taylor, who have done business with people because of their following, because of a great video on Instagram, and they have been so disappointed. We are not calling people out. We're not asking them, why didn't you ask Derek Jackson? Well, how many years have you been married? What are your struggles before you advise me? You know what I mean? We're not asking, but then they fall short and then we get disappointed, so he's human. He's human. I don't put anybody on a pedestal.
Yeah, I think in his case, he can actually make it work for him in a way that he can tell people, listen, I was trying to portray this lifestyle, be good, and I fell short. So I can advise from this perspective. And I mean, but it depends on how he goes about it, though, because if he's not good,
he'll do it.
I trust him. I mean, his meme was trending for like about 2 weeks, and now it's just like settle down. Yeah. And I think sometimes. I told him, I'm like, I actually respect people who actually share like their deeper sides of like struggles with us versus the people who just put on like, oh, this like perfect persona, like nothing has ever happened. I'm like, that's.
But you know what? I want to hear from Taylor, but let me say this real quick. I want to hear from Taylor on this because I want to hear what she thinks, but you hit it on the head. Think about it, Nene and Taylor. If you put up this image, if I put up this image that I'm this perfect life coach, it is hard to reveal the truth. about ourselves because we don't want to disappoint people. In the beginning, when I first became a life coach, all of my talks were about you do this, you do that. I was afraid to let people in. But as I got closer to God, as he said, it's okay to be transparent, right? Leading me what to share with people. It's a freedom now. So some people are afraid to take that mask off because they're afraid to lose fans. They're afraid to let that image, that perfect image, to destroy that perfect
before
image.
Taylor jumps in, let me say this real quick. I'm glad you brought that. You see how you say when you pray to God, it was like, it's okay to be transparent. Yeah. But you think at the same time, the church or Christians actually be like, oh, you're not supposed to be telling people about like this. And you see where I'm going with that? Yeah. And it's hard for people. I'm like, true Christians actually get it. Yeah. They understand, like, you've been through everything. So it's like when you're telling people, you know how to relate to them. Yes. Someone who actually shows like a perfect life doesn't have it all together. They're probably the worst. Yeah. Taylor, it's your turn.
I mean, like I think social media definitely gives people the opportunity to portray that their lives are perfect. And as someone where I am not a fake person, I can't be fake. And I can't, when I feel like people are being fake, I can't follow that. I can't support that. So a lot of the people that I choose to follow, like I am very intentional with the people that I follow on social media. And it's usually people who show all sides of themselves, both the good and the bad. Say, oh, my mental health is really bad right now. And I just want to let you know, like, this is what I'm going through. And if you're going through it as well, like, that's okay. And I think that was definitely important to have during the pandemic because, we were all going through it. And there are people who were like, oh, I'm thriving. I'm doing great. And it's like, no, you're not. We're all going through something.
What are you thriving on? Like,
oh my God.
Like, let me know.
Yeah. So I'm very big on like, following people who are just themselves, that's why, like, for example, Demi Lovato, like she has taken us on her entire life journey. Yeah. And I love that about her. I don't know how y'all feel about her, but I love that. I love that she's been so raw and honest. And some people criticize her saying you should be telling us that. Yeah. But it's like, no, it's good because there's be someone out there who's going through something similar and knows that they're not alone. I think with social media, especially, it's so easy to feel, it's so interesting because it's like we have like more access than ever to people, but I feel like now we feel more alone than ever. Yeah. And so I feel like it's important to show yourself so that way people know they're not alone. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the great things about social media.
But don't you think, like, let's be honest about it. A lot of these people, these celebrities, I love when they're transparent as well. Now, sometimes they're forced to be transparent, right?
Yeah, they have no choice.
But either way, but you look at Demi Lovato's fans, all those young people who are probably broken, many of them, and thought her life was perfect. She may have kept them from doing drugs or suicide or they wanted to be her, look up to her. And she's like, look, I'm struggling too. And they relate to her more. And her music probably, like, you're not doing these songs about how to get a man and all this stuff. Now her music is probably going to be more, sharing
relatable.
More journey. Yeah. And people need that now more than ever. People need like encouragement and motivation.
They do. And one of my friends always tells me, she's like, every time I check on your IG like feed, is like, you post it. I'm like, because if I see something, I'm like, wow, this is good. Let me repost it because you probably don't follow this person. So you can probably see it only on my page, and like, like we said, even though social media has given us access to people and we think we can actually judge them and criticize them however we want, at the same time, we are actually lonely in different ways you don't realize. Yeah. Because you focus on someone else's crap happening and you sit right here going through the worst. Yeah. Not showing nobody. And it's like.
Yeah. But you hit on, Christianity. I'm a Christian. I love the Lord. But Jesus doesn't even condemn, right? So who are you? It's easier to look at somebody's post and say, girl, you need to, but look at your own life. What do you need to be working on? Yeah. And then there are some things like, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all, there are some talks I've wanted to do, some posts I've wanted to give to people. And I'm like, I can't post that message. I ain't been delivered from that. Let me hold up on that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because even though y'all don't know it, I know in my spirit, God is like, you don't post
that. You ain't right on that side. Like, hold on now.
Don't do it, Doctor. Jesus is like, not today. Maybe 2 years from now. Yeah.
It's funny because I saw this post a few weeks ago that says, just so you know, I'll never be the bigger person. If you're going down, I'm going to go to hell. I said, sounds about something I probably would say, but you know what? I'm a work in progress. So
we all are. We all are.
But it's good when we can actually accept that fact and like, listen,
Yes.
we ain't there yet, but we trying though, And one of the things that I actually always do, I was actually telling Taylor, right, before we came on this episode, I'm like, I wrote on my notepad, do another cuss. Like,
Please don't.
I was like, I need to, because, and I tell people, like, the reason why I open up the podcast to different people is that I want people to hear different stories.
Yes.
If we don't do the regular trending topics, I'm like, we are tired of it. You hear it everywhere.
Yes.
Let's talk about things people don't talk about always.
Yes.
Let's push the envelope. I mean, it's a benefit for all of us because it's an avenue for you to like express yourself.
Yeah.
Other people to also learn from it as well because you all want to help people.
Yeah.
I know I've told most people, I'm like, hey, you should do this. It's going to help you. I don't do it.
Yeah.
Not always. I mean, I'm honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And I like the show is diverse. Like this is the first time I'm meeting Taylor, but because I know you, I know Taylor is, you can just feel the spirit. Oh my God.
It's funny because I was telling someone like on the previous episode, I'm like, anybody who ends up on an episode means I'm cool with you because if you did not, I don't know what you.
I'm like, who is this? No, Nene, can we just make this an interview with you and me?
And I'll do it because, and I know that's one of the conversations we literally have all the time because like it has to be people who actually come together, share something for people to learn from. We don't just want to bring everybody and their mama. No, thank you. Not doing
transparency. And it's about the people. It's about the message, not the mic. People got to understand that. Mm-hmm. So when you preach, and you shouldn't be preaching, right? But it's
this metaphor pretty much for
Yeah, but people should get something from you.
And I mean, I've listened to like different podcasts and different like people who do these IG stuff, and I'm sitting there like, brother man. Sister, what are you doing?
Today is a great day. 5 tips to a happy life. No, you're broken. You're in a place I know you're down. Let me tell you right now, I'm struggling too. I'm glad every day has been good for you during the pandemic. But let me tell you, I've been struggling too. As a life coach, don't think, oh my God, everything is... Are you kidding? Sometimes I got to talk myself and be like, okay, keep your head up, keep your head up. It's truthful and people receive that. If you're shaking your finger, come on, y'all. It's time is up for that. It is up. I'm like Taylor, I can't even put up a facade like that. I can't even do it.
I hate to use this as an example, but Taylor, I mean, I'm going to use that example. Okay. Where we used to work, right? I'm not going to put too much, but people can actually put 2 and 2 together. I realized most people actually in that job or that department wanted to be there because they wanted to be maybe famous or do this and that, which is fine. I applaud you to do what you want to do. Yeah. But you need to people say it's not good to put like a timeline on yourself.
That's right.
But it is it's good to put a timeline and know what you want to do. Let's say tomorrow I want to read like a book, maybe 2 books in a month.
Yeah.
You might not be able to achieve that, but it's like something like helping you, kind of like your own planner. Help me. And I realized most people did not want to move up from that position. They just wanted to be there because everyone wants to be in Hollywood. I'm like,
yeah. Well, it's actually kind of funny because so there came to a point where I just wasn't happy there anymore. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And my grandmother was, dying, and it ended up being her last Christmas. And I knew that job wouldn't give me the time off. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stay until Christmas, like right before Christmas, and then I'm going to leave. So that was like the timeline I gave myself. And then I ended up getting my new job. So it's just like, and my family says, thank God, I got that job because then the pandemic shortly happened after. And I would have been with my first job, I would have been jobless,
Oh, wow.
But my current job, I was still in that job. So I do think sometimes giving yourself that timeline, that ultimatum and everything does help, and, since I'm with people who believe in God here, like I definitely think God saw that it was time for me. He was like, okay, yeah, like you're ready. And, gave me that opportunity. So yeah, I definitely do think sometimes you just have to be real with yourself and say, I've gotten what I needed out of this opportunity, not giving me anything else. I don't see room for growth. I need to move on, even if I am putting myself, in a kind of risky situation because I was going to be jobless basically. And so I was risking that, but I was just like, you know what, it's worth it because I'm not happy. And then what do you know? I got my new job.
And
Amen.
that's good.
I mean, because you can't be in a position telling people, even like in our everyday lives, you can't tell people, oh, because people probably looked at you all and was like, oh, you're doing this and that. But if you're saying, oh, everything's so great and it's not great, even in our everyday lives, we have to make sure we're practicing what we preach. We have to hold ourselves accountable. And we have to understand there are consequences that come with that. When you're basically a walking contradiction, right? It's on your spirit.
Aren't we all?
Hypocrite. I mean, we've all done it, right? But we have to be accountable, and we have to start really practicing before we preach.
Listen, that's true. Like just like Taylor said, like that position actually at that time, you don't really get Christmas off. You don't. You ain't going nowhere. And I remember like a few years ago, I think 2 years ago, I wanted to travel back to Ghana, right? And they're not gonna let me go. So guess what I did? I purchased my ticket in September and I took it to my boss. I'm like, actually no. I applied to get the days off. I requested and I was denied. So then I actually went to the boss. I'm like, what's up? This is my thing. I've worked every Christmas. I'll possibly been here. I just need this time to go to my family.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? You can go. And I was like, boy, it was that easy. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to do what I need to do. Before that, I actually said to myself, I'm like, I'm going to go on this trip, come back, and I'm not going to be here for long. Honestly, I spoke it into the existence. I put in the universe. I left for 4 weeks. So usually you can only get 2 weeks, but I was lucky enough to get 4. When came back, I arrived, I resumed work. The same day I actually resumed work, I got an email to interview for a position. I actually had the interview the next day. And a few days after I got the job, so I was like, do sister, y'all. I left. Enjoy the one until the pandemic hit. So it's like, sometimes you just have to believe in yourself, put it out there, and make it happen.
But also it's about, you have to have the courage to have self-respect for yourself. In
Can
any
you please
industry,
repeat that for the people in the back?
Yeah, you have to have the courage to have self-respect for yourself. And do you know, like, leadership respects you when you boss up and say, I'm doing this. They respect you. The people, you think they respect you if you just bow down? They don't respect those people. They treat them more like a servant, a slave, right? But the people who boss up, that's the people who I'm telling you who they really respect. They're not telling you, but they do. So when you're like, oh, I'm afraid to know, tell the boss. In respect, it's how you do it, right? And if because you have to have peace, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Because I want to go to sleep at night and go to bed.
Come on, give me a break.
Clink, clink, clink. We need a break. We need a break. So, for example, let me just say, like, I hate to use the word two-faced because most people are. So, if you have to deal with someone who's like two-faced, right, telling you to do this and turn around and do the same thing, how would you address that person?
I usually, it depends who they are and what scenario they are, what the scenario is. But I am known for being straightforward and a little blunt.
That's how we get along, because
not you, Taylor.
So like I call people out. I say, and honestly, that's one thing that like the close knit of friends that I have, like when they're finally ready to accept, get it to them straight and like accept what they need to hear, they then come to me. They're like, yeah, I'm calling you because I know I just need to hear the truth and stuff like that. And so, I mean, unless it's just, someone where I'm like, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me.
It's
not worth my energy, then I don't
It's above
care.
me now.
But it's like, if it's someone that is important to me and worth the time, then I'll usually, I don't do it aggressively. I don't do it rudely or anything. I do, it comes from a loving place, because I care about them, but I'll usually point it out to people, and people will do the same to me. And don't get me wrong, I'm defensive at first. I am a Taurus. So,
Oh, I'm the same. So, it's like.
But at the end, I'm like, you're right. I needed to hear that. So.
But we need that. We need constructive criticism, and that's how people really care about you. But it's hard to be objective in your own situation. Sometimes we're led by emotions, and you can't really be objective with yourself a lot of times. So no, I like to receive constructive criticism. I'm like, sometimes it stings, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, But my family had to have a come to Jesus meeting with me. a few years ago. Your attitude, they said, oh, you talk about it. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, So, but they love me, right? So yeah, but I think like Taylor said, some people are not worth my energy. Okay, go ahead. But if they're your friend, be like, girl, you just said that. Or wait a minute, you said this or you said that. And then also you have to do self-reflection.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to people on the radio, I tell people, y'all, I'm doing this too. I'm still working on this too. This is an area I still need to work on too. So it keeps me accountable because I've told people, yeah, we need to do this, but I'm like, we are in this together. So it comes with self-reflection, but you have to have hard conversations and say, girl, now that wasn't right. Or these business people, everybody's now a business expert.
Thank you. I'm like, how long have you been in business? Like a week, a month?
But nobody calls people on it because they're in a pretty office. They have 50,000 Instagram followers. And I'm an expert. I made 30,000 in a month. Okay, but you've been talking about that since last year. What did you make last month? You said that you played that video since last year. So you probably made 30,000 in 1 month. Where the what? I'm
other ones, yeah.
Pay attention because I have a marketing background too, so I know how to use words and make things seem bigger. I'm glad you made 30,000. But that was the video you played 2 years ago. Where are we at now?
If you're working the right thing, it should be about 60, 80, like 120, like 180. We should multiply and keep it, And I think for me, one thing I'm still learning to do is like, when people say some stuff, my face just tells like, what the world? Like I try, and honestly, my friends.
But sometimes it's good.
My friends always say like, are you okay? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, wait, what now? Because I remember, I'm like, I didn't even do it on purpose. I don't. Because I remember Dr. Dunn when we were filming the talk show back in East, right? Because when we're about to film, I told him like, listen, this is usually for like a 60 or 65 crew member kind of production. Unfortunately, it's COVID. We can't really have it like that. So for me, if you're going to sign up to do this, I'm letting you know right now, and it's not a joke, you would have to live in an Airbnb with everyone. We need to get COVID test. We need to do all the things we need to do. And first of all like, oh, you're doing too much. I'm like, that's fine. I'm doing too much. But guess what? I'm not about to put myself at risk or other people. Even the guests. I don't care. Everybody, from like the schedule, like, they're like, well, you're doing too much. But guess what? The day of taping, and they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I know my job. Do you know your job?
But practice what you preach. If you didn't get a COVID test and you told me to, because I told you, I had a conversation. I said, I'm not coming. I said, what is this about? I said, no, y'all playing. No, everybody said, okay. But if I saw somebody didn't submit a COVID test, good and well, I'm.
Yes, I tell them, bless their heart. Lorraine, I'm like, Lorraine, if they don't have it, I don't care who they are not going to be on the show. And some people did not want to take a test. I'm like, if you don't want to take, I'm sorry, you cannot be on the show because it's a risk. I'm not about to put myself at risk or nobody else. Yeah. So we are not doing that. And honestly, some people have to literally not show up an hour before. But guess what? The people I actually had earlier, I'm like, hey, do you mind being on this episode? Like, do you mind? You can go change, come back. We have your COVID test. Like, you be okay, And I think in actuality, I think this whole COVID thing should let people know.
Yeah.
Everything is real.
Yeah.
It's real. You have to do it because I've seen people talk about the vaccine. I'm like, there's so much stuff. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to read about the vaccines no more. Either you get it or you don't. Keep it moving.
Absolutely. And don't tell people to get the vaccine and you haven't had it. Or don't, come on. Have you gotten it? Oh, see, that's why publicly I'm not telling you what I'm doing or what I'm not doing.
See? So, and when I saw the post about the president said no, we can actually go outside. And I'm like, you know what? It's good, but keep your mask on if you have to. Because people are going to lie and tell you they had it. And them little people have not gotten no vaccine yet. They probably had COVID 3 times and don't even know.
Or didn't tell you. Because I know people, I have a friend who's stage 4 COVID. And the doctor said it's going to take you months to recover. He did a video about it and a show about these people are going to parties with no mask, but they're not telling you they got sick. Now that wasn't his situation. But I'm just saying these people, they're not telling you the truth. I don't trust none of these people. I'm sorry. I'm still wearing my mask.
I have a question though. Whilst you're about to wrap up, I have a question. I know certain states, I think New York has actually done the whole COVID passport thing, that we can actually verify. What are your thoughts about it? And I'll give you mine as a closing remarks. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think it's good or do you think it's a breach of confidentiality when it comes your health history or stuff like that?
I mean, it's like, in order to get into schools, you have to show what vaccines you have, like, this isn't anything new. I think that's the one thing I don't get is people are acting like this is all brand new. And I'm like, no, we've always had to show proof of vaccinations. When you travel, you have to show proof that you got vaccinated.
Where's mine? Somewhere around here. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is nothing new. And I support it as someone who's had to, work in person since August and not really. The only protection I have was like my mask, and just recently I got vaccinated. I wasn't declared essential, so I'm essential to the economy, but not essential enough to get vaccinated early. That's great. But yeah, I personally support it because, like you said, you never know who's going to be telling the truth. And I want to feel safe because, like, even though we're vaccinated, from what I understand, you can still get it. You just won't get it as badly, know? So I'm all for it.
Yeah. I applaud them for being proactive because what happens is this whole thing is out of control. And in the beginning, we saw this. I applaud people for taking the proper precautions because now, at the end of the day, though, we're responsible for our own health. I don't care what Governor Abbott has done. If you live in Texas, he can lift the mask mandate. It's not lifted in my house in life. So common sense, but I applaud them for being proactive because if we don't get a handle on this, and if you're offended by them trying to keep us healthy, look at what's going on in other countries. Can't get oxygen. India. I mean, my God, you better be glad you're in a country where we're being hard on. We got to be tough on this thing. People, over 500,000 people have died, and we still want to. I applaud it. It's time for tough love.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, to me, I think like it should be an option if you want to use like what's called the vaccine pass or whatever. I think it should be an option. If you don't and you have your own reasons, okay, I get it. But I think sometimes people just put out these false narratives and it's like, yo, come on now. You're way too well educated to do this.
But we have to be educated. Again, I don't care if all the celebrities in the world can say it. I'm going to use my spirit of common sense, wisdom, and discernment. You getting a check. You getting a check from Moderna. I'm going to do some research. So I'm telling you, we all need to it's okay to go. I don't care what they say. You think I'm going to go outside to a party and not wear a mask? I'm still going to mask up. We just have to, guys, because you don't know what people have. You just don't know.
That's true. I mean, that's actually a good way to kind of like close us off. This stuff is real. Please, y'all, keep yourself safe. For those at home,
we talking about everything. We ain't talking about. Look, we talking about practice. We talking about but it's real.
The good thing is that everything we talked about still brings it like people are telling you to take it. Are they actually taking the vaccine? Yes, so it's like I love this. I love every episode we do because it's different, and all the conversations we have always ties into what we originally planned to talk about, So thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. Listeners,
can I say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Like the diversity. Taylor's white. I'm black. You're black. I mean, we all have opinion. In this day and age with such tension with racism, it's good that we are all coming together to have these conversations. We're not separate, right? We all so I hope people see as well that racial divide, that's another show, but I hope people practice what you preach when it comes to stuff like that could be a whole other
right.
I like the diversity.
The diversity. And you should follow Taylor on Instagram because she's down for the cause, okay? Listen, I'm just gonna let you see yourself. I'm not gonna tell you.
Taylor, what is your Instagram? Make sure y'all DM me that. Nene.
Yes, I will. Yes.
Because that honestly was like my biggest pet peeve, like when everything first started happening was everyone was posting this stuff. And I'm like, are you actually doing it though? Are you practicing what you're preaching? Like I legit wrote a post out saying that because I'm just like, I see y'all posting these things, but what are you actually doing?
Not nothing.
If y'all see if I say y'all get the vaccine, y'all better say, did you get it? And if I don't respond to you, that means come on, y'all, call these people out.
If people ask me what I was doing, I would be able to tell them I'm going to the protest. I'm supporting Black businesses. I'm doing all of this because I make sure I don't put anything, like we've talked about, I don't put anything out there unless I'm doing it myself.
Yeah, don't put out buy Black and you ain't bought Black.
This should be a whole different conversation because I remember someone actually called me erasers last year, and I was trying to figure out how to respond, and I'm like, Lord.
Sometimes the best response is no response.
This is what I did. I actually sent them a picture of like a family friend we have in my mom's house, and it was diverse people from white, Indian, Hispanic. I'm like, there you go. So this, because I know people always talk about, look, I have black friends. No, you don't. It's a difference. Okay, but this is a whole different conversation. So
yeah, well, there's this one video I saw. They're like, you don't have black friends, you have black acquaintances, and there's a difference.
Yeah. If you didn't see a problem with what happened with George Floyd, you have black acquaintances.
Yeah.
Come on, y'all.
We're gonna do this a live episode very soon because listen, I think it's gonna be. You know what? It's going to happen. Thank you, ladies, so much. And viewers and listeners at home, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to join the conversation on Twitter, Kabutey, on Instagram, Saturday Shade. And do not forget to hashtag Saturday Shade as well. And as always, Saturday Shade, it is all about the fun.